Good evening, everybody. Is my mic on? Yes, it is. Welcome to Swarthmore Borough Council legislative session for Monday, September 8th, 2025. And we'll start with roll call. Ms. McCahill?
Here.
Ms. McLeod?
Here.
Ms. Seymour?
Here.
Mr. Therian?
Here.
Ms. Garland? Here. Mr. Boonen?
Here.
Mayor Spiegel?
Here.
Manager Halbum?
Here.
Solicitor Scott?
Here.
All right, we're going to next go to public comment. So please come up, give us your comment, speak loudly and clearly into the microphone, give us your name and address, and please be mindful of the 3-minute time limit. Who's here for public comment? Come on up.
Great. Is this good? Okay, thank you so much. Eve Buckley, 310 South Chester Road. This is concerning the non-conforming sites ordinance that was discussed at last month's legislative session. Chester Road neighbors have been in communication since that meeting, mostly by email, and 10 residents met at my house last week. Not everyone could attend tonight, so they asked me to raise 3 points with council. I know I have 3 minutes. The first is that there's lots of residential support for architect Claudia Cueto's recommendation that the collision center site be separated from the other 3 non-conforming sites and be allowed to have the by right residential zoning in the current draft. There's urgency regarding the collision center and widespread support for that change, whereas the Chester Road sites have less urgency, they aren't for sale, and most residents support a conditional use approach, especially to ensure aesthetic character consistent with the neighborhood and whatever gets developed. Second point, we really appreciate council's understanding of our safety concerns that many people presented last time. And my neighbors requested that Jared and others approach PennDOT with a request for a comprehensive approach to traffic calming and pedestrian safety along Chester Road. This might take a number of forms. Left-hand turn lanes have been proposed, but they may not be what PennDOT primarily recommends. Apparently widening the road can actually encourage higher speeds, so we just hope that the approach is comprehensive and really considers all the possibilities that might be best for our context. And finally, the question of storm runoff and drainage is also important to Chester Road residents, but didn't get a lot of discussion last month. If you've ever tried to drive Chester in particular after a heavy storm, even a medium storm, you know the drainage there is quite terrible. And it can take several hours for the water to find a way out, which may be because 2 sites on that intersection have excessive impermeable surface currently. There are probably other contributors, but that is one. So the cost of the excess drainage is borne by both drivers and adjacent residents who implement measures to try to direct the excess water away from their homes and landscaping. In those residential areas, the maximum impermeable surface coverage per site is 40%. In the zoning ordinance under review for the non-conforming sites, the maximum impermeable surface is 60 to 75%, which might be consistent with what is there now, but is not consistent with the rest of the residential properties. By passing that, if Borough Council chooses to pass that, we pass up an opportunity to mitigate the existing drainage issues, which would come at no cost to the borough. Instead, the allowance of 60 to 75% impermeable coverage is really a gift to property owners and developers at community expense. We have to figure out what to do with the rest of that water. So it seems fair to give them the same allowance that's allocated to every other residential property owner. Hope that this will alleviate some of the drainage problems which are expected to worsen over time. And there are creative solutions they might come up with if they're forced to, like permeable driveways, permeable parking spaces, and so on. I know my family has spent tens of thousands of dollars dealing with that excess runoff, and I'm sure we're not the only ones who are doing that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Who else for public comment? Please come up.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Baker. I'm at 306 South Chester Road. Is this okay? One agenda item for tonight reads, consideration to allow Benoni to discuss pursuing turn lanes on Chester Road through PennDOT. I feel this is a backwards approach to addressing the dangerous traffic and pedestrian location with the engineering firm. As recommended by Jill at the last meeting, the discussion with Benoni should be to look into how to improve the safety of the intersection and traffic calming tactics, and not to start out by telling them the conclusion we wish them to reach. There are better and much less expensive solutions to explore first. as you talked about, such as lowering speed limit, changing the timing of lights, possibly adding pedestrian crossing lights. It is also of the utmost importance to maintain for the two non-conforming lots at the corner the same setbacks as the neighboring houses. The last thing that Chester Road neighbors want is a widening of Chester Road or a narrowing of the sight lines at the corner, which would only serve to increase traffic and accidents on our street over time, as well as destroying the character of this residential neighborhood. Chester Road is the gateway to our community, both north and south, and needs to be treated with care and respect for its green space, most especially the space that lines Chester Road, which needs to be maintained with appropriate setbacks that match the existing houses for any new development. Again, this is important both for safety and for maintaining the residential neighborhood character. I'm stumped by Borough Council's actions throughout the comprehensive plan process, the non-conforming lot zoning, and now the sudden concern for our safety in order to justify squeezing in 16 housing units where they don't fit. There's been a series of actions to make Chester Road unlivable by adding congestion, inappropriate density, and now it's pursuit of turning lanes, which would make Chester Road into more of a highway and necessitate encroaching on neighboring yards. Those of us who live on Chester Road have been disenfranchised by Borough Council over the past year. The most egregious example is the zoning lots on Chester Road to match the lot at Rutgers without regard to the different environment or interests of the residents. As of today, 323 Swarthmore residents have signed a petition against by right zoning ordinance and for conditional use for the properties on Chester Road. These three properties should be separated out from the by right zoning being created for the collision center site to allow the development of that site to proceed without harming the neighbors on Chester Road. We have established a Chester Road advocacy group, which met for the first time, as you mentioned, on September 3rd. We wish to be included in any deliberations that affect our neighborhood. The point person for our group, which includes residents on or adjacent to North and South Chester Road, is Eve Buckley, who will be happy to share her contact information with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come up.
My name is Jonathan Hodgson. I live at 533 Riverview Road. And I have two very short comments. One, I want to talk about 541 and 545 and the proposed rezoning. I'm really glad to see something like this and the move towards residential housing on that property. And I hope that the parking and the runoff issue will be addressed before permits are actually issued. The other thing I want to talk about just very briefly is the earned income tax. I have serious problems with a tax which does not reach the people, many people in this borough who could afford to pay more. I count myself amongst that. And, I realize that the Finance Committee and the borough is in a really difficult situation vis-a-vis the budget. I just wish there was some way to do it where basically everybody in the borough ended up contributing towards it. A capitation tax, for example, although again regressive, would at least mean that everybody had put something into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Seeing no more hands, we'll close out the public comment portion of the meeting. Let's see, let's consider the meeting minutes from August 18th and September 2nd, 2025. Did everybody have a chance to look at those? I only saw one set of minutes. Did you all get more than one? Did you see one? Did everybody see?
I saw one.
I saw one. Well, let's, did anybody see both? Okay. Did-
August 18th is what
I-
I'm missing.
Right, so let's vote on the ones everybody's seen, and that would be,
September 2.
yes, September 2. And Sean, that's no reflection on you. I think that was some confusion as to whether bills should have sent them out before. So,
Did you see it?
oh, go ahead.
I saw it, but I had sent a suggested edit to them for August.
Well,
For
let's-
September. Oh, okay.
for this, yeah, so we're just going to talk about August for right now.
Right, we didn't get August.
Oh, right, September 2nd. We're going to talk, does anyone have a motion to approve the minutes for September 2nd, 2025?
Did you make your?
I think no, but do you want to amend the September 2nd minutes?
I did.
We need a motion first, and then we'll go through that. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Second. Okay,
Thanks.
Cindy.
I wanted to amend the minutes to not just talk about a turning lane as the solution on Chester Road. I think Joe made the point that we wanted to ask Panoni to look at all kinds of traffic calming measures and management measures.
Okay.
I concur. I would take that as a friendly amendment to my motion.
Okay, and I would just ask that we spell Marty's name correctly. I think it's spelled wrong.
I didn't see the minutes, so I can't.
Okay. So with the suggestions for amendment, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so let's consider the minutes next month for August. Got it, okay, we're good there. Okay, we are going to now take things out of order just a little bit, be a little more confusing. We're going to have a presentation from SEPTA on ADA improvements at the Gill Walk. Please come up, do you, please.
Okay, so Josue and colleagues, as they get their presentation up for us on the projector, just a little bit of context for the community, that this is a presentation with overview information about the ADA improvement that is slated to begin at the McGill Walk underpass at the Central Rail line near the College Bookstore. So tonight we're going to see project details, construction timelines, and for council colleagues, this is an opportunity also to ask about the impact on the community during the duration of the construction, which could last as much as a year. Our presenter tonight is Josue Robles, SEPTA's head of construction for this project, joined by colleagues Megan Curran and Jen Doherty, who are on hand as well to answer council members' questions. Sue Smythe and company are here also from Swarthmore College if there are questions that are better directed to them. So thank you everybody for being with us tonight, and this way we're ready for you.
Good evening, Council. I just first off wanted to say thank you so much for your support and advocacy from your letter to Lieutenant Governor Davis back in May. We really appreciate all the councils and the boroughs getting on support, and we just want to thank you publicly. My name is Megan Curran. I am the Government Affairs Liaison for this project, and I just want to let Josue introduce himself and start the presentation. I also have a sign-in sheet too, in case anyone wants to receive emails from me throughout the duration of the project.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Josue Robles. I am the project manager for the Swarthmore Station ADA Modifications Project. I think here's a good spot, right? As long as you guys can see. So for just as a short introduction, the station currently does not have an ADA connection between the inbound and the southbound platform, and so that's one of the primary goals for this project. So as I'm saying, that this project will be creating an ADA accessible connection between the inbound and the outbound platform. And so what that means is that you will be able to gain access to either side of the station using whatever method of transport is used for all persons. So part of that project is reconstructing the outbound ramp and stairs in its current configuration, and there are a couple slides that'll show the existing conditions. That way, it'll be a good refresher for everyone. The project will also add new inbound stairs and ramps. We will be improving the lighting within the tunnel, the ramps, and the staircases. And we will also be adding improved wayfinding signage that will help to direct those passengers to the new path. The project has been awarded to someone. Notice to proceed was given in July of 2025. and substantial completion is expected in April 2026. So just as an aerial refresher for everyone, there on the screen you can see towards the left-hand side where the existing Swarthmore Station building is, and you can see where the existing tunnel entrance is that will be performing the majority of the work. This is in close proximity to, if anyone's familiar, the fields that are set in Swarthmore College. That was a project that was recently done last year. And you can see towards the top of the screen the inn at Swarthmore College. So in its existing configuration, there's the ramp and tunnel that we will be working on. There's currently a ramp there on the outbound side, but the problem is that this ramp leads to a staircase. And so I think everyone could agree, and I could see that that doesn't make the best sense. Certainly for a ramp, we want to, and this is part of SEPTA's initiative of, addressing some of these shortcomings and being able to make, renovations to bring some of these stations up to, a modern accommodation. So this, as you can see, we're looking at the outbound ramp right now, and that leads into the staircases that are at the bottom of the right-hand picture, leading to the tunnel, which goes to another set of staircases. This is looking at it from the inbound side. There's only a staircase that goes into that tunnel right now. And so this is just a side profile of the existing staircases that lead down to the existing tunnel, which terminate at staircases at the bottom. So as I was saying before, the project will be addressing this passageway by adding a new ramp and new staircases on the inbound side, which is the one that currently only has staircases leading down to the tunnel. This new inbound ramp will be a switchback ramp, so that the rise will be split into two pieces, while the outbound ramp will be a single slope, just as it is right now, but it will lead down to the proper elevation. And so there are certain challenges. Obviously, we're going further down, and there are other utilities and things like that that are being addressed, and we've been working closely with the local utilities, the college, and in terms of accommodating the work and ensuring that the work is done in a safe manner and it's done in an efficient manner. So these are renderings for as a visual aid. So as I was saying, the new inbound ramp will be a switchback ramp. You can see that on the left-hand side of your screen. And the outbound ramp will be a single slope, similar to the one that is currently in place there, but it will be leading down all the way and skipping the staircase that is currently there. During this work, we will be detouring pedestrians from the college around towards the existing tunnel that is towards the west of that point. We worked closely with the college in exploring all options in terms of being able to, provide a clear path, and proper signage will be provided in order to direct both college users, visitors, in users to be able to access the path in the correct manner and avoid any confusion. And so as part of the construction entrance that will be provided, the Swarthmore College recently had a project on their campus where a construction entrance was being utilized. We will be utilizing that same construction entrance, and that entrance comes off of the roadway for the outbound side, and for the inbound side, the construction site will be accessed from behind the inn parking lot. I believe those are all the slides that I have for you. Like I said, we've been working closely with the college as well as the township to be able to ensure that the work is done in a timely manner, noting the need for the work, the time when the job was procured, for the time when we procured a contractor. We want to be able to make sure that we finish the work before April 2026.
Jose, thank you so much for the information. Do you mind going back one slide to
Yes.
the good construction diagram? Okay, questions and observations from council colleagues? David or Jana?
I just had two questions. One, that box on the bottom right that's blank, was there anything happening there?
No, that was part of the original plan
Okay.
to have some parking there, but that's been removed.
So that probably leads me to my next question, which was anything, remember we talked about, just for everyone's benefit, I've always been, not concerned, but just wanted to stay aware of what's happening because we're doing some significant, hopefully some significant work along Myers, but it sounds like now this isn't really going to
So
impact.
no construction parking on Myers Avenue. But can you
Correct.
talk about construction parking?
Yes, so, and it may be a little bit difficult to see, but there is a light blue rectangle that's close to the tracks there, that on the inbound side, that's going to be the contractor laydown area that's, or just south of that, where the yellow is actually. The blue is the construction area, and the yellow is the laydown area that's going to be utilized by the contractor. We spoke with the college in terms of occupancy of that area, and we're working with the contractor to, decrease the amount of spaces that are utilized in that area. And I know that we have previously, the project manager that was leading the project previously had discussions in terms of, number of parking spots that were being taken up, and I believe we mitigated that issue at that time.
So when folks ask us, I'm thinking of our merchants, getting upset about potentially having spaces taken, the answer is there should be no impact.
The answer is 10 times in the year. Think 10 hall passes in the course of the construction year so 10 spaces or 30 spaces. Do you know off the top of your head?
It's the spaces in front of the inn.
The spaces in front of the inn. So if there is a high impact day for college needs and for septic construction needs, what we have said as the municipality is we'll bag those meters for those 10 most important days, but only in front of the inn.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
And I realize this is not within the scope of this project, but to make the station truly ADA compliant, we need to raise the platform, correct?
So the station as it is currently ADA compliant in the sense that there are mini highs that allow passengers to board at the mini highs. So those will be at the frontmost part of the train, and if anyone has ever used them, typically our conductors or our staff will call ahead to the station that the persons that need the mini high in order to make accommodations so that that entrance is utilized. So the stations are currently ADA compliant, but the conversion from low-level platforms to high-level platforms is more so to be able to kind of bypass having to do that step, and it kind of improves some of our operations and our times that we are at the station.
Right, with Cades being located in our community, that's obviously a high priority for us. And I might have dreamed this, but did I see it in SEPTA's long-term plan at some point? No, it's not. I'm looking at Jennifer. No, it was never in. Okay, because it's my understanding to even do that, you'd have to move it further down Myers, or would you not have to? But it's not in your plan.
I don't know what iteration.
It's not in your plan at all.
I don't know what iteration it is.
Because I had a conversation about this with somebody at some point with SEPTA, and
No, you're not imagining it, but it's not in our capital program.
Okay.
I'm Jen Doherty.
And I get the budget
Yeah.
cuts, so.
I'm in our planning department. I have a new title. It's Manager of Transit-Oriented Communities. I'm still the same person doing the same thing, but yeah. My title is meaningless. But what we had done is that we looked at what would full high-level platforms mean in terms of any transit-oriented communities, any kind of development happening here, because we wouldn't want to have a building get so close to the right-of-way that would prevent us from building fully high-level platforms at some point. So we did take a look at like what that would mean from a footprint standpoint, both during construction and then also what it would look like forever from that point on. So you're not imagining that, but we don't have any funding. But we want to make sure that we're not constraining ourselves physically as we're doing our planning work. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
No,
I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, that was a great response to that, and as part of this project, the programming of it, the coordination has been done in a way that the tunnel and the new staircases, that all is a part of, in the future for that conversion from low level to high levels, that is just one piece that kind of helps that kind of further along. So.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, just for information, the two main staircases on either side of the tracks that allow you to go down one side and up the other side along Chester, will they be unaffected during this process?
Yeah, yes, because Chester is through. Yes, those are not.
Great.
David, maybe your question is born. I wanted to just ask the same question for the purpose of illustration. So when you were showing the alternative route, do you mind going back to that slide? So this long alternative path, this is the path that a person who was using an adaptive device and couldn't navigate those stairs that David was describing. This is their temporary route. Which is a significant difference, but for people who can navigate the stairs right along Chester Road, every single person who's coming in and out of the train station isn't doing this.
Sarah, just to be clear on that, you're correct, but for anyone coming to the college, they're going to need to use the alternative tunnel.
I see, meaning if they come off the train and disembark, they're coming to campus this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the current crossing will be fully engulfed, but the stairs are east enough, east,
Yeah.
To not be affected.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or observations? That's why early in the project, we had heard that there would be some limited need for nighttime construction. Can you help us understand why and what the parameters are for nighttime construction?
So since that initial discussion, we were able to have the contractor come on board. We've sat down with them, sat down with the college, and discussed, the working hours really during the daytime. They've expressed that for almost all of the operations, they're really looking for performing these activities during the daytime. There are certain activities that just because the nature of the traffic that we have on this corridor and the proximity to that to the rails, those activities cannot be performed during daytime running. They will be during the nighttime. That will be very limited, and even the weekend outage work or the work that's performed during the weekend will also be very limited, and it's helped us to have their baseline, and we've gone through that and seen that there has been a reduction of even what we expected to be necessary for maintenance.
And is there an advance notification to the borough manager's office or to the community at large or ridership if there's going to be an outage?
Certainly that's been our goal, is to make sure that these activities, and we apart from the project schedule that we receive, we also receive a closer look, that's a 3-week look ahead, and we can see the work coming up. But, we have those progress meetings with the contractor, and they convey to us when they'll be expecting to get around to those activities, because they need to give us, a long amount of time in advance, and we'll certainly communicate that through our community.
Yeah, just to add, I'll have, I can create flyers for residents and businesses that don't have email access. I can email you guys, and any residents that do request a notification of this, I can take their emails as well, and they can be on a 2-week notice that I can send out.
Last call for Jose and team. Going once, going twice. Thank you very, very much, and thanks everybody.
Thank you.
I just have
not quite yet.
I don't know if I missed this. SEPTA itself, will there be any trains that aren't going to be running as a result of this, or delays?
Not as a result of the project.
Okay, so it's not going to interfere with normal?
No, no. As I said, the operations that have been programmed have been made in such a way that eliminates having to perform any service reductions or changes to the schedule.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, again. Do a little shift change, I'm sure, with days.
Take a minute here. Back in session. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, SEPTA.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Hang in there.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to return to our normal program. David, environment.
Environment. Just to bring people up to date, at least 6 of the 8 boroughs that were involved in our petition to the PUC have joined in the appeal that we approved last week. So just wanted to bring you up to that, date on that. As far as upcoming meetings, on 9/25 Thursday at 7 o'clock, the tree committee meets. On September 30th, that's not their regular meeting, it's moved back a week because of Rosh Hashanah. It's the EAC will meet at 7:30, and the Environment Committee is not scheduled, will not be meeting this month.
Okay, that's it?
That's it.
Thank you. On to finance. Cindy.
Thank you. Overall, the report we got from August shows we're on pace with our budget. There are some larger expenses for property maintenance and for planning next, but I think it's all within reason. That has been offset by an increase in revenue from licenses and permits. I need to ask for a vote. I move that we pay bills that total $235,256. Do I have a second?
Second.
Questions? Comments? All in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
Also, there's some wire transfers to ratify totaling $6,216.11. So I'll move that we
Second.
do that.
Similarly, does anyone have anything to say about ratifications? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I put on the agenda is the discussion of the earned income tax, just to report on the meeting, or the open house that we had on Thursday night last. David, Kristen, and I were here. We had a good group of very interested and informed residents from Swarthmore. We also had representatives from Keystone that are the Delaware County representatives who collect the EIT for municipalities, more than just Delaware County, but they were able to give us some good information. I think we settled on that we don't really know what we might get in an EIT because of all the variables, but it would be a substantial amount of money, maybe at least $1.5 million. One of the slides shows that that if we have a substantial need for more money, and we're still working on the 2026 budget, But should we still fall short in what we expect from the current property tax rate and other miscellaneous revenue, we could close the gap by an EIT and possibly, I'd say quite possibly, reduce some property taxes, or we could raise property taxes. Tough decisions. I would say that we don't have all the data solid enough to even make a recommendation from the Finance Committee. But I thought if we wanted to discuss it here, we could do that.
I have a question. And this is something that I just haven't been able to understand. So if you could explain to me, or someone could, if you're going to tax someone's income, and it's the same person or same household, how do you refund property taxes? Like money, hold on one second, money coming in is needed. So then how do you take from that? I'm sure I'm missing a big piece of this.
Well, they're two separate transactions. The EIT is if you self-report your income, you have to self-report and make estimated payments.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just taken from the salary by the company you work for, same as your state taxes and your federal taxes, and then you file your taxes by April 15th. So it's a whole separate transaction then.
So it's a timing thing, like?
Well, if you're, we wouldn't know when the property tax, it wouldn't happen at the same time because we don't know how much
Can I jump
EIT
in?
we're gonna have.
Too. I spoke to the PA Association of Boroughs, and I did my own research, and I found 2 communities that were a very special exception that were able to lower property taxes after enacting an EIT. When I called the PA Association of Boroughs and talked to their tax person, I said, we're looking at passing an EIT. Do you have any examples, or can you give me a list of examples of communities that have lowered their property taxes after enacting an EIT? And she said no. The list of what people look at an EIT is to supplement property taxes. That she had no examples. I gave her the 2 that I had, and she said, well, those are very rare exceptions, and they were special circumstances. So I want to be careful with how often we say we will be lowering property taxes because we don't have any evidence of that.
I didn't say we would, I said that's a possibility.
But I wouldn't even say it's a possibility.
I'm just trying to understand how it works. I'm sure there's some possibilities.
Let me try this.
Okay.
Okay. Every year, we have to start with what our current revenues and expenses are. And there may or may not be a shortfall. And at the end of that process, we say, let's assume that there is a shortfall. How are we going to fill it? Right now, as Cindy said, our one remaining arrow in our quiver is raising property taxes. If we had an EIT, we could say, oh, how much does that EIT generate? If it generates more than the shortfall that we've worked hard and honed and been parsimonious with other people's money, all that type of a thing. If we have more than that, we can, and in my view, should reduce our property taxes. We're not looking at this to take more money from the public than we need to.
So it is a timing thing. It's like you have the money come in through an EIT, and if there's more than you need, you could consider reducing?
No, we could do this all in one budget process. We would say, right now we take $2.6 million from our residents, a little bit more than that, in property taxes. Let's say we need $3 million to get through the year. We could say, oh, we're going to raise our property taxes by $400,000. We're done. If for whatever reason we think it's a superior solution to implement an EIT, and let's just say that raises $1 million. And keep in mind that some of that's coming from outside of our borough, but we raise $1 million. instead of just the 400,000 that you needed to close the gap, we could reduce our property taxes by $600,000. We'd have to be careful. We'd want to make sure that, the uncertainties that Cindy was mentioning earlier aren't going to cause us to be in a shortfall situation, but we could do it in one budgetary
So
analysis.
do you see that in year one, when the year one draw of what of the dollars in on EIT is still a projection?
Well,
It's tricky. I mean, the merits of the structure are hard enough, and the absence of baseline information to be able to say, this is what we'll get, or at least this is what we'll get, I think is really kind of foundational information that I'm looking for.
Can I say two things? I've been through this a couple times. The first year, you are taking an educated guess on what your revenues are going to be. There is a certain amount that Keystone can tell you is definitely coming home, that people who live in Swarthmore.
The exchange that's repatriated
Right,
to
right,
Swarthmore,
yeah.
that's already being collected, that's a known
the
figure.
Bob Scott,
And
But
I am poster child, I am not an unbiased person.
But that's an incomplete figure, but that, okay, so we know that part,
The
right?
rest is a projection. And you should be conservative in budgeting for it. The other thing to consider is you collect earned income tax on a quarterly basis. It is, big payroll companies like ADP collect it. They remit it quarterly. So the first year, you're only getting 3 quarters. You get it in, April, et cetera. So your first year, you have to be conservative with what you project as your revenues. The following year, it's going to be 25% more than it was the year before, just because you're getting 4 quarters plus whatever self-rises from rising wages. So
So it is a timing thing. You're not going to be refunding somebody in year
no,
one.
you don't. There's no refunding. You're going
Lowering,
to
excuse me,
right. You're going to
lowering.
budget a property tax rate and an EIT rate.
Right.
And the property tax rate will not be as high if some of your revenue is now coming from EIT.
Right. But you're not doing them at the same time.
You are. You're
You
doing
could.
it in
But
the
you don't know,
in
you
your
just
budget.
said, but you just
But
said
you
you don't.
could. You
You
could.
are
It's our
budgeting,
choice.
you're going to, in your December budget, you're going to set a property tax rate, you're going to set an EIT rate.
So
And that's,
Joe,
and
for
then over
example,
the next year, it's going to get collected, just like real estate taxes now come in, starting in April. And they rise and fall over the course of the year. In addition, you'll have 3 quarters of earned income tax coming in.
so for this year, if we had a modest assumption of what an offset from EIT income contributed, there might be no property tax decrease or a very modest property tax decrease, but in year 2, perhaps that's the time when there really is.
Then you'll have
That's
real
what I thought.
numbers.
Right, then you have a baseline, a more reliable baseline number. But the other piece that's involved here is just the overall increase. I think that it bears repeating, the overall increase, right? Everything costs more for the borough, just like it does in people's personal finances in inflationary moment, but also the cost assumptions around all these emergency services is a real and meaningful change. It's not that all of a sudden, surprise, we weren't minding the shop and now we're really behind and need to do a catch-up. The actual costs to the community have changed significantly.
and, I mean, there's a maximum you're allowed to charge of a EIT, that's 1%. That's been floated in years past. That would raise more money in all probability than all of our property taxes raise right now. So we're down to 0.5% in our discussions, and they're just discussions. But there's nothing that says in order to learn more in year 1 about exactly what you're going to be bringing in, that we could say it's 0.2% or 0.15%. And there is what I call a trade-off between windfall and uncertainty. What has me excited about an EIT, or the potential of an EIT, is that in addition to the Bob Scott reclaiming, repatronizing revenue portion, is that through the comprehensive plan process, we learned that there were 3,000 non-residents working in Swarthmore. We don't know exactly how much they make. We don't know how many of them live in municipalities with EITs that wouldn't let them go, you know. But we know that there's a significant amount, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, that could come into our borough. To put that into perspective, hundreds of thousands of dollars is much greater than the revenues that we hope to get from the 110 Park project. So it's a real increase in our tax base. So there's this trade-off, as I was saying, between the uncertainty. We don't know every dollar to the dollar. And even when you have an EIT, you know, a lot of people say, oh, it's great, it grows year over year over year, except during pandemics, except during massive economic downturns. It's not, you know, a flat tax on everything and people just pay it, or not on everything, on property. But there's this balancing act between uncertainty and windfall, and the uncertainty goes away and the windfall stays.
So I would think that as the community ages, the amount of EIT, as people stop working, as people retire, that the amount of an EIT could go down. The other thing I wanted to ask, so I read you sent a memo or something around about going below 0.5. Would you not worry that it's not enough and then we're going back for more?
Well, you would always have to look to balance your budget. I mean, we have worked so hard, all of us in this council, to create structurally balanced budgets from where we were 3 or 4 years ago. So we wouldn't want to give up on that. But again, as Bob has said and others have said, if you are bringing in extra revenues through an EIT, whether it's $200,000 or $600,000, that would go under your revenue side of your budget and would limit the amount that you need from your property taxes, whether it's a decrease, whether it's avoiding an increase. We're faced in the Finance Committee right now with some pretty scary numbers, and we've been working very hard at them to try to get from, what was it, almost a $1.3 million deficit that Bill had in his preliminary budget. That would be a 50% increase in property taxes. Now, we've been working very hard. We believe we have it below $1 million, hopefully below 800,000. We're working hard. I don't want to commit to any given number. We have meetings coming up. But one of the many tools that we're considering is an EIT. Again, in my view, not so much that we actually need the capacity, because we have a lot of headroom on where we can raise our property taxes, but because of these windfalls, reclaiming Bob's money, and taxing non-residents.
Bob, have you ever seen or worked in a community that had less than 0.5 if they were going to do an EIT? What do you think of that?
It's not been
So
recommended.
Lansdowne did a 0.5 1 year, first year, and then once they had a full year's revenue experience, they then did the other half and could budget with confidence that way. So that's, otherwise I've seen it just go to the full 1%.
Okay.
And Keystone didn't recommend going below a half. Some other interesting points that came out of that meeting. It was a really great discussion. We had a Swarthmore economist professor.
Swarthmore College
Yeah.
economist. Yeah.
Some really interesting points that I took away from that is there is a large percentage of wealth in this community that will not be touched. As you guys know, dividends aren't touched. If you're living off, if you get a trust of any sort, that is not taxed. There's some, Bobby might have told me here, there's like some some corporations, if you've had formed, that's not taxed.
And earned income tax is on wages. It's
On
salary
wages only.
It is-
Yeah, so,
And net
yes.
earnings.
And this is state law, this is not something,
Right.
it's not like, you know, it's
Yeah.
not like this is, it's the only choice you have.
Yeah, it was an
You can do
interesting,
Property taxes, or you can do earned income.
So what I would like to challenge my colleagues to be thinking about as we move toward decisions on the budget is if you do or don't want to, say we have a deficit and there's a number that we need to pay, I would like people to kind of state how they would fill that gap. What's the method? If you're against the EIT, what are you for? Not just I'm against it because I don't like taxes, like we have a
Right.
responsibility. I'm not trying to school you all, but we all have to kind of fill
Absolutely.
this gap.
Yeah.
So how would people do that?
and another interesting point that was brought up, I think Virginia might have mentioned this, and I pulled up the college's number, I wish Susan were still here. How many, I know we had, the Planning Next said we had 3,000 employees working here, and I know a lot of the money will just be clawing it back from residents that are already paying an EIT elsewhere. But some of these are wage earners, like the custodians and the cafeteria workers at the college. So we are taxing the working folks at Swarthmore College. I think you mentioned that, right, Virginia? Yeah, thank you. And then one question too, when I'm thinking through where could we pull this money, what do we have in the reserves? Is it 800,000?
It looks like this year we may have an $800,000 carryover.
Okay.
But I also want to be continuing to look at what our expenses really are. We don't have very much in our capital reserves. We have aging buildings. We have needs.
We do, but it's a tough budget year, so I was just wondering if we could put in
It's a tough
some.
budget year until your plumbing goes and you have to really pay that, a big bill. So I
So bonds are for.
but I also think
That takes time to.
Well,
It does, I'm just saying, that we have a lot of information we need to collect before we can make a decision.
we do. We also need to know whether we're doing a regional ambulance authority, you know, whether we'll continue to have these expenses that the borough is undertaking for our fire department. So there are lots of unknowns. But I appreciate your question, Jill, and the theoretical. Of what, if we have a gap.
Well, the question about the reserve that Kristen's raising, maybe to build a bridge, Jill, between your prompt, which I think is really ultimately our charge. Okay, EIT, no EIT, where is the balanced budget coming from, right? Reduction in expenses, increases in revenues, right? It has a square within there. And I think if we have a reasonable assumption that we're moving towards the regionalized taxing authority for emergency services, and really we're looking at 1 year only on the ALS, on this cost structure, maybe then we can say, okay, this isn't ideal, but we'd rather reduce our reserves, which for the benefit of folks who don't spend as much time in this. Reasonable people disagree about what is appropriate operating reserves for a local government, but a general rule of thumb is around 10%, right, at least of your annual operating budget. And we've seen unexpected, those culverts that failed by Marty's house, that was 10%.
wasn't my fault.
That was a surprise out of the clear blue, more than $600,000 expense that came from out of nowhere to replace those two fail points in the road.
And-
So it's a real thing.
And we did not have that in our capital reserves. Unfortunately, we were very careful with our ARPA money. Kristen is right that one of the uses of a reserve fund, and it says so right in our resolution, is to smooth over tax increases, etc. I don't think we have enough in our reserve fund to smooth over the type of tax shortfall or the revenue shortfall that we're seeing this year. But it's something we should definitely
Oh,
look
yeah,
at.
and if we create an emergency services authority, that's a tax. Like,
Right,
we're gonna
I was
have to
gonna
pay
say,
that too.
Yeah,
For the
it's a
household
shift
expense.
Off of our books.
The money is still
Not
coming out.
entirely.
the money is still coming out of your house,
Right.
right?
Right, but that's what I
It's still
was
coming out of my
saying.
bank account, it's
Right.
just going to this new,
Yeah.
this new emergency
So-
services authority now.
Right.
It's not like, you know, if we hold out, it'll be neutral. It's like if
No.
we hold out, there'll be this new thing, and that's gonna cost something too.
It's just off of our books and shifted, the taxes shifted to the authority and then sent directly to the taxpayer.
But it's still out of our wallets, all of our.
Oh, it is, absolutely, it comes right up. But one interesting take that I took away from the meeting, and again, there were what, like maybe 18 people at the meeting, I think in person is what I counted. I was explaining this to someone today, maybe it was Conlon. Folks seemed generally more open to that because they know exactly what they're paying for. And I think that's where, you know, we started the CIT discussion and we weren't able to say, this is our problem, this is our exact budget cut, this is our exact budget deficit, this is what we need to close, this is what we need to fill. We didn't have that information yet. So I think they were more open to the idea of, okay, I know I'm paying for emergency services, so I'll take that tax.
Well, we can tell all the community groups no increase. You know, is that the best decision?
Well, I think we want to stay out
We need to stay,
of the weeds of the budget right now, because it wasn't on our agenda, but, you know,
But it's
but it's related. I agree. And we all agreed at the meeting the other day that the first thing we need to do is, you know, go after the budget, whether it's with a scalpel, a chainsaw, you know, whatever, and make whatever cuts and recognize whatever revenues other than an EIT and a rate increase on property should be in it that isn't
Right,
already.
so that's a good segue. Our next finance committee meeting is September 16th at 4:30, following the public safety meeting at 4. So the big chunk here is the fire budget that includes ALS.
It's ALS, yeah, the ALS budget.
Well, it's both, really.
Fire and EMS, right.
That we need to
Right.
wrestle with. So that I hope that we can get real clarity by that meeting and during that meeting. And then when we come back here in October, we'll have a much better
And
project for you.
so that the public is aware, the 4 o'clock meeting of public safety, we will have the finance committee there as well. So it will be a joint meeting so that we can talk about fire, ALS, all of the emergency services.
I think Jared and Jana both wanted to say things. Jared, you first.
Just wanted someone to clarify the potential benefits and drawbacks of this proposal as it pertains to renters.
Renters would pay it if they are residents of Swarthmore.
And if their landlord's property tax goes up, down, or doesn't change, that likely would be passed on to renters, but that's not a direct part of the equation.
Landlords they pass on their real estate taxes to renters.
And if you pay it somewhere else, it would come back here.
I just had 2 questions. I remember hearing the word chainsaw when we started talking about this and the fact that we had such a huge delta. And being the general government chair, where we all know these groups because we all partake in them somehow, some way, shape, or form. But I did assume that the groups that represent, under our committee are probably the low-hanging fruit to that chainsaw. And I know this wasn't on the agenda, but I do think it's kind of related to the EIT. Those types of groups is why our family moved here. And I would really hate to see them get buzz cut by the issue that we're having. So that's just kind of reflection number 1. Reflection number 2 is something that the gentleman in public comment, I'm sorry, I didn't catch his name, from Riverview, was mentioning if we just raise property taxes instead so that folks like him, everybody was paying into something that lived here. But did you say that hypothetically, or at least theoretically, you would have to raise property taxes almost 50%?
Well, that was the initial budget. I don't think we're going to be close to that.
It would be good when we're like laying out all of the options on the table. By no means am I looking for like down to the decimal, but to just kind of understand what that option would be and what that percentage increase would be.
I think that's fair.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As a point of comparison, the other piece that I would love as a tool, even if it was pretty rudimentary, and is understanding the difference between an essential services, mandated, required, right, contractually obligated level of service compared to continuity of our existing service level compared to new requests, right? Even just in the summary expense tab, like without all the support. I've half done that in the margins for myself, but I'm like, okay, because I think that I really hope the solution is some combination of increased revenue and decreased costs, even if it's just for 1 year.
I agree.
So are we finished with your report? Okay, thank you. I really appreciate all that finance and public safety and everyone's doing, but particularly those two committees because it's just so challenging. Okay, so we are now up to Jana and general government.
I have nothing. We're not meeting this month. We are doing a merchant and property owner walkthrough of Town Center on October 1st at noon. Considering that Sean is new and the merchants had suggested this a couple of months ago, so I felt like this was a great time to do that. Of course, it's open to the public, but because we don't have a quorum, we don't anticipate advertising it. Thanks.
I was unclear whether we were going to have a quorum or not. It may have hinged on my attendance, which is uncertain.
Yeah, as of right now, if you do not attend, we definitely do not. If you do attend, and I think one other person, I think Jared may have been the swing, then we would have 4. But as of right now, I have, I believe, 2 confirmed, and you, David, are a possible.
I will definitely be there.
Okay, then your attendance would make it a quorum.
Right, so in an abundance of caution, maybe we should advertise.
Sounds good, I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Planning and zoning, Scarlett.
Okay. Last week we discussed advertising a proposed amendment to Swarthmore zoning map to rezone 545 and 541 Riverview Road to alt-res zoning. That's to facilitate redeveloping a long blighted building for folks who are coming up to speed. So redeveloping the existing blighted building and the property next to it into 4 townhomes. So to get a conversation moving forward, the action point before council tonight is consideration to advertise that ordinance. So I'll motion to advertise ordinance 8/2025, amending the Swarthmore zoning map to rezone 545 and 541 Riverview Road from residential B to alternative res.
Second.
Thank you, Kristen and Jared.
And just to emphasize what I believe you just said, this is just the rezoning. This is not a land use permit. It's not a building permit. This is none of the above. Many of the issues of, my neighbor's on Riverview. I'm a Riverview person all the way at the other end. But you'll have expressed concerns about things like traffic and construction, and these are all things that get looked at routinely when we issue those types of permits down the road, if this were to go forward.
So we talked about this at length last week, but are there questions or comments for the benefit of the group to be able to make a decision around any of this since last week?
That's a process question. Has this been sent to the planning commissions yet?
No, so this would be
this
during the
kick off
advertising period.
that.
Yes, and as a reminder, just on timing, our planning commission is slated for vape shops, sensitive business uses in September. They did ask, would we be amenable to them addressing this matter in our in their October meeting rather than in their September meeting. So I'm interested in the wisdom of the group on that one too.
No objection.
Yeah. Okay.
What are they doing in September?
Sensitive business uses vape shops.
I just wonder if this one's that difficult, if they might be able to.
James, their chair, said that he would list it on the agenda and for September, and see how they do on vape shops, see if they have gas level criteria, to just keep going on this or not.
And I've told the property owner that it could be pushed back.
Yeah.
And that, of course, with that.
Great. Okay.
So process-wise, we're not just advertising it like every other ordinance, we're advertising a public hearing. So you need to know the date of that hearing, so if you're proposing to have planning commission not here until October, would you then be wanting to hold that hearing the first
During the
meeting?
November series,
Okay,
yeah.
So
So
advertise that for the workshop in November.
Monday, November 3. All right, what else? Questions on the merits of the decision itself? Folks feeling okay about this idea? Okay. Then, anything else? Call the question?
Call the question, yeah, I think this is a really good solution, I'll just say that. So I'm happy it took a very long time to get here. This is a really important step. Do you have a motion on a second?
Yep. So this is a motion to advertise, refer to local, borough, and county planning commission, and advertise a hearing on this change to the zoning map for Monday, November 3, 2025.
All in favor of advertising this change in the zoning map at 541 and 545 Riverview Road, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
That's it for me then tonight. Friendly reminders, planning commission meets Wednesday, September 17th. Planning and zoning committee the following evening, Thursday, September 18th. That's it.
Public safety and Kristen.
Thank you. So to kick off the discussion, I'll just go ahead and make the motion. I will make the motion to appoint myself, Kristen Seymour, to the ALS task force.
Is there a second? Second.
Okay. So we have been meeting with the other municipalities in our intergovernmental agreement since the closure of Crozier. And we wanted to send a strong signal to the community that we were going to continue to work together and work toward building an ALS authority. So we wanted to form a task force. We have been meeting every Wednesday at 4:30. We're meeting in Swarthmore Borough Hall. It's the first Wednesday of the month we're meeting in person, and every other one is virtual. Anyone is welcome to attend. We can send that information out. And there's even folks that aren't, it is an official task force, but it's not an official task force in the sense that we're not.
It's not a Sunshine Act.
Right, it's not a Sunshine, thank you. It's right, it's not under the Sunshine Act. So it's basically just a group of us, Conlin and some mayors and some council members from some other municipalities, and also some municipalities that are interested in joining once we get the ALS authority up and running. And again, as I've said before, it is our hope to have this up and running to have it established by January 1. And we are waiting for Rutledge to pass their letter of intent that they have from DCED so that we can get approved for peer support, because we'll need that help building to get the authority established in January, and then we'll need that help after as we continue to build that out. So thanks. Any other questions?
All in favor of appointing Kristen Seymour to the ALS task force, say aye. 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 Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you, I think.
You're already doing it.
I'm already doing it. Yeah. Anything else from public safety?
No, just a reminder that we are meeting on the 16th at 4 o'clock. It will be a joint meeting. We'll have finance there. We're already working out the details of ALS and the fire budget, and we hope to have a very clear picture by that point. So please join us.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Jared, Public Works.
Good evening. Firstly, on our agenda is a consideration to allow Pinoni to discuss pursuing turn lane construction on Chester Road through PennDOT. I think, based on our minutes from the last meeting, is it permissible to make a motion that's a little bit different than what's on the agenda?
It's related to Chester Road and PennDOT, I think so.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to allow Pinoni to discuss pursuing turn lanes and examining other safety improvements for South Chester Road through PennDOT.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can you say, well, you may not know this, but I would assume there's a cost to retaining Pinoni for this work, and I think it's an important cost, but just saying it out loud is important.
I don't believe that we have
Yeah, this could be done as a cost not to exceed. Based on the hours and my conversations with Eric, hold on, let me do some quick math here. So I'd say $3,100 gets 20 billable hours, and I think that is enough to come back to council certainly with any options for safety improvements. Also, so the council's aware, in my conversations with Eric after the last meeting, the turning lanes is not going to provide any sort of traffic calming. Quite the opposite. And apologies, I think my being new here and unfamiliar with the roads to some extent, made me go down that rabbit hole a little bit.
I think it was me. I think Eric, I misunderstood. I thought he had suggested it, but I think he misunderstood what I was asking for. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I think you're in the clear though.
In any event, I don't think that we're going to be asking, or I'm going to be asking Pinoni to look at any sort of turning lane solution, that we're going to be looking at traffic calming measures that don't require any sort of massive road construction. And I don't know that there are a great many options on a state highway that already has some of those in place. So again, I think $3,100 is a cost not to exceed 20 billable hours. I hope we wouldn't even get to that, but that should get us by.
From my conversations with Eric, he has said that we are doing all traffic calming measures on South Chester Road that we can possibly do. So I'm wondering, is this, I more thought that this was to petition PennDOT to lower the speed limit, which we did 10 years ago, according to Ray. I was informed, but
on a state highway, that would require a traffic study.
Right.
So I would need to speak with Eric to talk to figure out what the timeline is since the last traffic study was performed there, and then determine the extent or the robustness of whatever traffic study would be necessary for a speed reduction.
I guess I feel odd because we both were told there's not really a lot they can do. I was told there's nothing more they can do, actually.
Could I just jump in and piggyback on that?
Yeah.
But wasn't it traffic calming and pedestrian safety? Like, are we also, why are, at that intersection, why aren't we also just considering that?
I'd be interested to know
Right?
pedestrian safety.
Has anyone ever tried
That's a good point.
to cross there? It's not safe.
Like a light? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like receiving the pedestrian crosswalks,
I
like,
mean, that's something the borough can do, though, if you're paving, right?
but like just.
Or no, it's a state road, I'm sorry, we cannot do that.
I guess why can't we just,
These bump outs might could conceivably
Right.
be
I
possible.
think that's important to think about it as an open matter. I mean,
Yeah,
we've talked about certain things in the past that we've thought of, but is that the end of the line? We need to know that.
and that's something that we've talked about in public safety is at some point before the end of this year, we're bringing in Delco Vision Zero, where it's looking at, and we want to sign on to that Swarthmore, I hope we will, to look at how we can improve pedestrian safety and bicycle safety across our community. So that fits in with that as well, but I, again, would be interested to hear what Eric has to say.
Another possible solution I heard somebody raise, I don't know whether it is or not, but not a turn lane, but a turn arrow. So that
Yeah, I raised that because that's at 252 and whatever, Rose Valley or whatever it is. I guess, like, can't we look at, I get that he's looked at it, they've looked at it, but it's coming up again, and then in light of the rezoning there at the corner, I think.
And are we just looking at, we asking Eric just to look at the intersection or the corridor? I'm not sure, my assumption is that there, along South Chester, there are issues, not just at that cross.
Yeah, the motion will dictate, I suppose, but my understanding was the corridor, that we were going to look further down Chester Road to see specifically about the traffic calming measures. And to Kristen's earlier point, I'm confident that pretty much everything that can be done is being done, but the pedestrian safety element was not something that Eric and I had discussed.
Okay,
Could we ask him to do a study or to get a price on that, or how many hours that would cost and bring it back, or?
well, if it would be okay with this group, can we just authorize this conversation with Eric and then see where it goes from there, whether a study's necessary? It seems like every time we just tip it to a study, it's like we almost already know what's going to come out of it, as opposed to being creative and thinking about solutions, not just there and not things we've talked about before, but perhaps something in light of increased traffic and flooding and all kinds of new fun things.
Well, there were, just in this brief conversation, a couple of, I'll call them newish ideas discussed. The turn signal. I have no idea how that would be applied in this instant. Bump outs at the corners, which are both calming and pedestrian safety oriented. I don't know what the costs would be. We haven't talked about anything like a traffic diversion, circles, ovals, whatever, which are probably the most effective for these types of things. Now, it's on a state highway, and it's probably, and Bob's saying it's not going to happen. I would be surprised if it would, given the data I've seen, but we've got a lot of right-of-way there to deal with too. But I don't think any motion should be targeted or mentioning any particular solution. Any that I just mentioned, summarizing other people's ideas, or the turn lane that I think Jared just included as, oh, it's on the paper, let me re-mention it. It should be as open-ended as possible, and I have no objection to getting some input back from our engineer on how to proceed before we tell them what to do.
I perceive that as a friendly amendment. Would you, Jared? Just like
Absolutely.
right. And so the direction, Sean, is to ask the question in the most open-ended way possible. I'd be interested to hear the top 2 or 3 recommendations on each of these domains: pedestrian safety, stormwater management, traffic calming, and I'm interested in the magic wand ideas, but also, this is very feasible, kind of easy win ideas. And one lead, not to lead Eric, but Sean, to bring you along. Back in March, Bill worked with Strathaven Condo Association, which is not so far from where we're talking about, and they got a PA Small Water Sewer grant that will add new inlets, and so more of them and bigger, if I have that right, definitely more of them. And so, can we get more of that? And if so, is there, I don't know anything about inlets, right? But just giving you a few more leads. How does that sound to people, right? A couple suggestions in each of these domains, and brief commentary on the feasibility.
But
So would you come back and ask, you would go to Eric and ask how many hours that would take, and then not to exceed, and then come back to us with that amount? Is that how this would go?
Yeah, so my notes are to revisit this conversation with Eric and specifically looking at pedestrian safety enhancements, stormwater controls,
Traffic calming.
Traffic calming, which we had already discussed briefly. Come back with 2 or 3 recommendations for each, a cost or perhaps, amount of hours necessary to look into those until we get a project cost. And then at the same time, we'll look for available grants that those projects could be funded.
And like brainstorm outline
Yeah.
level of thoroughness so that we can go back to Eve and neighbors and bring them into the conversation. And, Jared Shawn is likely a baton pass that goes to you all and keep something constructive on the table.
And I think it goes without saying that there's significant data to show that residential use of these commercial properties will slow down traffic. Yes.
Yeah.
Don't shake no, yes.
One of the things that I believe it was Joe who mentioned, this is more than just this one intersection. We need to be telling Eric what the length of this study is. So does it go all the way down to Fairview? How far up does it come up to, I don't know, Harvard, or where are we starting? Park,
My house is 600 North Chester. If we really want to keep the cost down, we've got to keep the lower scope.
Oh, I agree, I'm just asking.
Maybe no more than 3 blocks.
Yeah.
Well, let's,
From Yale
do you want to,
south.
Plus Yale, plus or minus 3 blocks.
do you want to state,
South,
are you
just
comfortable
south.
making your motion sort of a little bit broader, but hitting on these points?
Sure. Do we have to define a scope of the
I
area
think
that we're measuring first? or is
not
that-
yet. I mean, that's my opinion, not yet.
No, I wouldn't, I wouldn't recommend picking any arbitrary spot in case Eric says, well, if we went 1 block further, we could actually do this because of X, Y, Z. Not sure, we're not authorizing any spending here, so I'm not sure a motion is even necessary. Those 3 things are, what I'm looking into now in terms of getting a cost estimate back for the council at the next meeting, traffic calming, stormwater control, and
Yeah.
pedestrian crossings
Right.
enhancements.
We don't need to authorize you to have a conversation.
No, I'm not going to be spending any money to do this. I'll just meet with Eric, discuss possibilities, get those costs, and then bring it back to you.
Okay. Does that sound reasonable? You need to withdraw a pending motion?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
For
I will
now?
withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Madam President, I need
Yeah.
a 1-minute break,
Sure.
please. Thank you.
Works, are you
We have
more to go?
one more
Okay.
agenda item.
Yes.
So lastly, we have consideration to approve the settlement agreement with CDCA. Just to go over this really briefly, when the CDCA was doing the sewer relining project in Little Crum Creek Park, they are obligated to reimburse us for any damages or changes that occur to the property as a part of that project. And the reason why this number is significantly higher than I think we anticipated, $89,000, is because, and change, is because the gazebo had to be removed as a part of this project, and we were compensated, I want to say around $60,000 for the gazebo, if I'm not mistaken. So, all that to say, this agreement, the settlement agreement and general release allows us to accept that money from the CDCA. So I'll make a motion to approve the settlement agreement and general release with Central Delaware County Authority, the CDCA, in the amount of $89,398.
Second.
Any questions?
This is found money for us at a time that we could use some.
Thank you, Barry.
All in favor of accepting or approving the settlement agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Well done. Anything else?
Thanks to Bill, more so thanks to Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
I hope that a portion of these monies may potentially go towards making our public restroom at Little Crum Creek Park completely paid for and not taking any taxpayer dollars.
That'd be great.
I think that's only fair.
Anything else?
That's all. Our next meeting is 9 a.m. on the 18th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
So we need more gazebos to be destroyed during the film budget gap. I really don't have too much. I just wanted to ask, Chris, did you mention that we have a ambulance meeting this Wednesday?
You know what, I did not. We do,
There
yeah,
is a
not
meeting-
tomorrow, the day after tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Tuesday.
Oh, I'm losing a day. This Wednesday, there will be a meeting here at 4:30 with the municipalities that are participating in the ambulance service agreement that we have entered into. So anybody that's interested, that group will then be the one that will morph into an authority if and when we decide to establish an emergency services authority. So anybody that wants to come and listen to what's going on. Right now, I can just say that the new ambulance service is working exceptionally well as we could ever have hoped, given the amount of time that it took, the limited amount of time that we had to really put it all together. And again, thanks to, I've said this before and I'll say it again, thanks to Conlon Booth, who really brought his expertise to bear to get this thing going, and Max Cooper from Nether Providence, who really pushed this and forced us to really take a hard look at what we were facing in terms of the lousy alternatives we had. This really turned out to be the best, and I think in the long run will end up not only giving us better service, but also saving us some money in what we would have to normally pay for emergency services. Other than that, I will end so we can go home and watch the films. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate that you're inviting people to the ambulance meeting. I want to echo, that Cindy mentioned there is a public meeting for finance, and every now and then we hear people say, oh, reduce costs, reduce costs. We'd love to have ideas of how to reduce costs. So if anybody has ideas, please get them to us.
Borough Manager?
Yes, two quick items. Just so the council and public are aware, bid specifications have been emailed to haulers listed among the Delaware County Solid Waste Authority list, and an advertisement is scheduled with the Swarthmore. Bids are due by October 1st at 11 a.m. and bids will be opened on October 1st at 11:15 a.m. That will be held here in this room. Also, the pension committee will meet on October 21st at 3 p.m. An agenda is forthcoming.
All right, thank you. Mr. Solicitor?
Thank you, I don't have anything else this evening.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. We are adjourned, thank you, good night.